Russia is experiencing a personnel shortage. Despite the growing number of unemployed people, the shortage of qualified personnel is only getting worse. This was reported by the Foreign Intelligence Service of Ukraine. In August, the number of officially unemployed people in St. Petersburg reached almost 17,000, of which nearly 10,000 were jobless. Companies are looking for specialists in new technological fields such as cybersecurity, data analytics, and engineering, since the market is dominated by candidates from traditional industries. This clearly demonstrates the degradation of the country's labor potential, stated Ukrainian intelligence. In addition, companies in Russia are switching to cost-saving mode, meaning they are optimizing staff and increasing workloads for employees without raising salaries. Some businesses are even cutting their workforce altogether. Against this backdrop, there is simply a shortage of people in the fields of industry, transportation, education, and construction. Ukrainian drones are striking the Russian oil industry. This is having a noticeable impact on processing. The International Energy Agency stated that the consequences of the strikes on refineries will hold back the industry at least until the middle of next year. Since the beginning of August, nearly 30 plants have been attacked. As a result, there are gasoline shortages in several regions of Russia. Moscow has already restricted fuel exports until the end of the year, and according to experts, processing has dropped to 500,000 barrels per day, and the recovery of the industry is being postponed by at least a year and a half. After the Ukrainian Defense Forces struck the oil depot in Feodosia, the Russians will try to supply fuel to the temporarily occupied Crimea via 3 routes. This was stated by the spokesperson of the Naval Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Dmytro Pletenchuk. According to him, the Russian occupiers may use the Kerch Bridge, the railway between Rostov and Jankoy, as well as ferry crossings.
We are observing a fuel shortage for civilian consumers. It is possible that this will also affect the military. But yes, they do have several alternatives for theoretically replenishing supplies in the temporarily occupied territory of Crimea. The air route, of course, is not being considered for this purpose. But in any case, these volumes are not sufficient to fully compensate for the losses the enemy has suffered in Crimea. Dmytro Pletenchuk, spokesperson for the Ukrainian Navy, speaking live on the United News Marathon.
Russia may attack NATO countries much sooner than Europe predicts. This is the opinion of analysts at the Institute for the Study of War. As the Kremlin ramps up its sabotage and reconnaissance missions, Europe is increasingly recording both covert and direct attacks by Russian special services. We cannot relax, assuming that a possible Russian attack won't happen before 2029, warned Martin Jaeger, head of Germany's Federal Intelligence Service. Europe is already under threat, he stated. My colleague Nikita Skoblikov will continue on this topic.
Germany will support Romania and Bulgaria in their confrontation with Russia, declared Johann Wadephul, head of the German Foreign Ministry, ahead of his 2-day visit to these countries. Bulgaria demonstrates just how closely security and integration are linked. The upcoming accession to the Eurozone sends a powerful signal of stability both for Sofia and for all of Europe. Romania is directly experiencing Russian aggression. Russian drones have violated its airspace. Such encroachments on the sovereignty of a NATO partner country are unacceptable. Johann Wadephul, German Foreign Minister, from a statement on the website of the German Foreign Ministry. Analysts warn, Russian hybrid operations are not a series of isolated attacks, but a long-term strategy by Moscow. But whereas previously Russian intelligence agencies preferred cyber-sabotage, espionage and subversion, they have now moved to direct escalation, violating the airspace of European states.
Basically, from the very beginning, he insisted that Russia must be a superpower. And if someone stands in the way of that, he makes sure to achieve it. So when he suddenly feels that now is the time to resolve this not only against Ukraine by military means, but also against other countries, that's something we can't predict. That could actually happen quite soon, yes.
The possibility of a direct Russian attack on NATO countries is also being discussed by Germany's Federal Intelligence Service. Its head, Martin Jaeger, commented to Bloomberg that the Kremlin is seeking to undermine the unity of the North Atlantic Alliance and destabilize European democracies. And while previously European intelligence agencies claimed that the bloc had time to prepare until 2029, now the discussion is that a strike could come much sooner.
The hybrid methods that Russia uses to achieve this goal have become a widespread phenomenon. The frequency of such incidents represents a new level of confrontation, a standoff in which Russia views us as an adversary and, in fact, as a warring party. Despite attempts to conceal its true intentions, Moscow is in reality seeking to test the strength of our borders. At best, Europe will remain in a state of cold peace, which at any moment could escalate into open confrontation. We must be prepared for further escalation of the situation. Martin Jaeger, head of Germany's Federal Intelligence Service, in a comment to Bloomberg.
Martin Jaeger was previously the ambassador to Ukraine right up until this summer, yes. And before that, he worked on issues related to Iraq and even Afghanistan. So he really does have a deep understanding of security matters. It's a good thing that someone like him is in that position now. This may also be part of our new focus, so to speak, that someone like him was appointed to this post.
Russia continues its hybrid aggression against NATO countries. The Polish prosecutor's office has charged a Russian couple with espionage for the FSB and with preparing to send a bomb. They were arrested in the summer of 2024. According to the investigation, they planned to send a package via courier containing explosives, a modified portable charger, and a thermos with a shaped charge. The bomb was intercepted at a courier company warehouse in the Łódź voivodeship. The prosecutor's office emphasizes that the case is international in nature and is connected to the activities of a Russian spy network in EU countries. The trial of the accused will take place in the coming weeks in Warsaw.
The investigation also established that Igor R., from February to August 2022, cooperated with the Federal Security Service of the Russian Federation regarding the Republic of Poland, including by collecting and transmitting information about Russian opposition members living in Poland, as well as about individuals and organizations assisting them. He transmitted this information to his wife, Irina R., on an encrypted electronic device for further transfer to the FSB on the territory of the Russian Federation. From a publication on the website of the National Prosecutor's Office of Poland.
To conceal the financial traces of sabotage, the Kremlin is increasingly paying its agents in cryptocurrency. According to Sławomir Sienkiewicz, head of Poland's National Security Bureau, Moscow likely used this very payment method to finance most of its attacks. Nikita Skoblikov for Freedom TV channel.
Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski displayed a Shahed drone in the British Parliament building, the same type used by Russians in attempts to strike Ukraine. Sikorski himself wrote about this on the social network X. He clarified that an entire fleet of such scrap metal is capable of destroying a country's critical infrastructure. He added that the Russian army uses these drones to terrorize Ukrainians, and with decoy drones has even violated Polish airspace. The head of the Polish Foreign Ministry emphasized Putin will only lose the war against Ukraine when he admits that starting it was a mistake.
Ukrainians are prepared for the war to last another 3 years, and that is reasonable. We need to convince Putin that we are ready to stay the course for at least these 3 years, that Ukraine will not be abandoned, and that it will have the resources to maintain its own statehood, army and defense industry. And then Russia can be forced to change its course. The claim that Russia always wins is not true.
3 residents of Kherson were killed as a result of a Russian attack. The Russian army shelled the Dnipro and Korabelny districts of the city with artillery. The strikes have continued for the 2nd day in a row and are happening at roughly the same time. It is also known that 6 people were injured, including a 1.5-month-old baby. For more details on the consequences of the Russian shelling of Kherson, watch the report.
Kherson resident Anna tearfully talks about her neighbor who was killed. Yesterday, the elderly woman's house was damaged as a result of yet another Russian attack. And today's strike by the Russian occupiers took her life.
She had just buried her husband.
She buried her husband, and now we're trying to somehow get in touch with her children. But what are we supposed to tell them? That their mother is gone?
She was a teacher at my child's kindergarten. A very good woman, open-hearted. It's all very sad. Her name was Jana. I don't remember her patronymic, honestly. Well, we were on a first-name basis. She's a very good, bright person. Everything that's happening in our city is just terrible.
For the 2nd day in a row, the Russian army has been shelling this district of Kherson with artillery at about the same time, around noon. Anna's home was also damaged in the attack. She and her family were just cleaning up after yesterday's shelling when the house was hit again.
For the 2nd day in a row. It was terrifying. We hid in the house, covering ourselves with our hands. Yesterday it hit, half the house was destroyed. We started cleaning it up and it hit again.
The blast wave was so strong that a parked car was thrown against the wall of the building. After the Russian attack, huge holes gape in many houses. In some places, nothing is left of the walls at all. Most homes have been damaged again.
Where do we even start? Tell me how. There are no doors left at all. How are we supposed to live?
As a result of the shelling in the Dnipro district of Kherson, 2 people were killed and 6 more were injured. Among them was a 1.5-month-old baby. One of the injured is in serious condition in the hospital. The Russian army also attacked the Korabelny district of the city again. There, as a result of the shelling, an 88-year-old local resident was killed. Ksenia Sitinskaya, Natalia Nedostup from Kherson for Freedom TV channel.
German Foreign Minister Joachim Wadiful called on Donald Trump to increase pressure on Putin to end the war in Ukraine. The head of the German Foreign Ministry noted Trump's contribution to resolving the conflict in Gaza. Berlin believes that now is the right time to launch a peace process in Ukraine and warns of the risk of escalation of hostilities.